Ethan Roberts was never the kind of man who rushed into relationships. At 33, he had seen enough of the dating world to know that love was complicated and real emotional connection was rare. But when he met Lauren Mitchell, something in him stirred. She was charming, intelligent, and had a magnetic presence that made every man in the room notice her. They met at a mutual friend's barbecue on a warm summer afternoon in Seattle. She stood near the garden, sipping iced tea, the sunlight catching the strands of her honey blonde hair. Ethan walked over, introduced himself, and soon they were talking like they'd known each other for years. Or at least, that's what it felt like at first. The first few weeks were exciting. Lauren seemed mysterious, and Ethan found himself drawn to uncover her layers. But as time went on, he started noticing something that felt off. She was there physically, but it was as if she had built invisible walls around her heart. He couldn't put his finger on it, but the connection he was chasing always seemed to slip through his hands. The first time he really noticed it was during one of their late-night phone calls. He was telling her about his childhood, about the time he broke his arm climbing the maple tree in his backyard, hoping to share a piece of himself. She laughed politely, then quickly changed the subject to something superficial, a movie she'd seen that week. It wasn't rude exactly, but it was clear she didn't want to dive deeper. Over time, Ethan realized there were patterns, little red flags that hinted Lauren wasn't emotionally open. And these patterns weren't unique to her. They were the same signs he had seen in other relationships that eventually crumbled. The first sign came when he noticed how she avoided vulnerability altogether. Whenever conversations turned personal about family, fears, or feelings, she would either joke her way out of it or redirect the topic. Once, when Ethan asked about her past relationships, she smiled faintly and said, "Oh, nothing worth talking about," as if her entire romantic history was just a throwaway footnote. The second sign showed itself in how she kept her schedule almost impenetrably busy. Between work, the gym, social events, and random activities, she always had somewhere to be. Ethan admired her independence at first, but soon realized it was also a way for her to avoid slowing down long enough to actually connect. One evening, when he suggested they spend the whole weekend together, no plans, just each other, she hesitated. "I don't know. I already promised to meet up with some friends, and there's this charity thing on Sunday. Maybe another time." Her tone was light, but it left Ethan with the sense that he was an afterthought rather than a priority. The third sign appeared in her reaction to intimacy, not the physical kind, but emotional intimacy. They could spend an entire night laughing, yet the moment Ethan tried to share something truly heartfelt, she would retreat. It was like watching a door slam shut behind her eyes. Once, he told her he had been feeling overwhelmed with work and life. She listened for a moment, then simply said, "You'll be fine. You always are," before switching to a different topic. The fourth sign became clear during conflict, or rather, the lack of it. Lauren avoided disagreements like the plague. If Ethan expressed that something bothered him, she would immediately downplay it or pretend it wasn't worth talking about. While some might see this as peaceful, Ethan understood that real relationships require confronting problems, not sweeping them under the rug. The fifth sign showed up in her reluctance to commit to future plans. Whether it was a vacation months away, or even just attending a wedding together, she kept things vague. "Let's see how things go," she'd say with a smile that gave away nothing. For Ethan, it felt like she was always keeping the exit door unlocked, just in case. And the sixth sign was the most painful for Ethan to face. She never let him in during her low moments. Whenever she was stressed or upset, she would disappear for days, then return acting as if nothing had happened. It wasn't that she didn't have struggles. Ethan could see them in her eyes, but she refused to let anyone, including him, see her vulnerable. These 6 signs painted a clear picture, and Ethan slowly came to terms with a truth he didn't want to admit. Lauren was emotionally unavailable. And no matter how much he liked her, no matter how magnetic their chemistry felt, he couldn't force a deeper connection with someone who wasn't ready or willing to open up. Still, Ethan didn't walk away bitter. Instead, he took it as a lesson. He realized that recognizing emotional unavailability early could save someone months, or even years, of confusion and heartbreak. People like Lauren weren't bad or malicious. They were often just protecting themselves from old wounds. But until they were ready to face those wounds, they couldn't truly share their hearts. Months later, Ethan found himself back at the same friend's house for another gathering. This time, he noticed someone else, a woman named Rachel, who wasn't afraid to talk about her fears, her dreams, and even her past mistakes. From the start, Ethan felt something different. The conversations flowed naturally, the silences felt comfortable, and when Rachel looked at him, it wasn't through a wall, it was with an open door. Ethan knew then that love wasn't just about attraction or shared interests. It was about two people willing to meet each other halfway, to be seen in both light and shadow. And while Lauren had taught him what to watch out for, Rachel showed him what was possible when someone was truly ready to connect. Because in the end, it wasn't about finding someone perfect, it was about finding someone present.